Hey, welcome to the Explainer. So today, we're going to get into something that seems kind of subtle, but it's actually super important. It's the engine behind everything from your phone's GPS to these massive industrial robots. We're talking about the difference between a coordinate system and a reference frame. And trust me, understanding this is how you'll see why a 2-meter GPS error might not be an error at all. Okay, so to really wrap our heads around this, let's kick things off with a simple story. So picture this. You're in a car, just cruising down the highway, right? To you, inside the car, you're not moving at all. You're just sitting there, maybe jamming to some music. The whole world is just flying by outside your window. But for me, I'm standing on the side of the road watching you pass. From my point of view, I'm the one who's stationary, and you are definitely moving. So, who's right? Me or you? Well, the crazy thing is, we both are. And this little paradox, this simple idea, is the absolute key to unlocking the difference between a reference frame and a coordinate system. See, we each have our own totally valid point of view, our own frame of reference for the exact same thing happening. And that right there, that brings us to the heart of it. It's the physical versus the mathematical. The thing itself versus, well, how we talk about the thing. So let's break this down. A reference frame, that's the physical situation. It's your context. It's literally about your state of motion. Are you in the car or are you on the roadside? Now, a coordinate system, that's totally different. That's just the math. It's the language we invent to measure stuff inside that frame. Think of it like a grid we slap on top of reality. You know, our good old friends X, Y, and Z. There's this great quote I saw that just nails this idea. The numbers we use are little coordinates. They're basically arbitrary. They're not real. They're not physical. But the vector, like the actual velocity of an object, that is very physical. Your speed is a real thing. The numbers we use to write it down, that's just us choosing a language. Okay, so if we're gonna run with this idea that a coordinate system is just a language, let's take a quick tour of some of the most common dialects you'll find out there in math and physics. First up, you've got the one we all learned in school, right? The Cartesian system. It's that classic X, Y, and Z grid. It's all about those perpendicular lines. Super straightforward, super reliable, and honestly perfect for describing anything that fits neatly in a box. But what if things aren't boxy? What if they're circular? Well, then you've got the polar coordinate system. Instead of thinking in terms of X and Y, it finds a point using a distance from the center, the pole, and an angle. It's just so much more elegant for describing something spinning, like a spot on a record player. And you can probably guess where this is going. We take that same idea and pop it into 3D, and boom, you get the spherical system. It just adds a second angle to the mix, so you've got a radius and two angles to pinpoint anything in space. It's no wonder physicists love this for describing things on, our giant spherical planet. And this is the big takeaway right here. It doesn't matter if you use Cartesian, polar, or spherical coordinates. You are still describing the exact same physical point in space. The reality of that point doesn't change one bit. All that changes is the language, the dialect you're choosing to describe it with. All right, so we've got our languages. Now let's see what happens when we actually start using them to describe things in the real world, when we start putting these systems into our frames. See, these frames are what define the reality we're trying to measure. You've got these huge global frames like ECF, which literally rotates with the Earth. That's what makes GPS possible. Then you get more local. Think of the northeast down frame that a drone uses to figure out where it's going relative to the ground right below it. And you can get even more specific with a body frame that's attached to a moving object itself, like the tip of a robot's arm. Okay, so I know this might all sound a bit abstract, a bit academic, but why does any of this actually matter? Well, this distinction is not just important, it's absolutely critical in the real world. Let's look at two killer examples, your GPS and the giant robots building our cars. Okay, check this out. Your phone, your car, anything with GPS, it uses a global reference frame called WGS84. It's like a single worldwide standard. But if you're a surveyor working in North America, you're probably using a totally different frame called NAD83. And here's the kicker. NAD83 is physically bolted to the North American tectonic plate. It actually moves with the continent. WGS84, on the other hand, is fixed to the Earth's center of mass. So what does that mean?
Well, because that entire continent is slowly but constantly drifting, the coordinates for the exact same physical spot, I'm talking the same crack in the pavement, can be different by up to 2 meters depending on which frame you use. That's not a mistake. It's not an error. It's a genuine difference in perspective, a different frame of reference.
Okay, that's wild, right? Now let's go from that massive continental scale and zoom all the way down to a factory floor. Because this exact same idea, this concept of nested perspectives, is precisely what makes modern robotics and automation work. So a big industrial robot thinks about its world in a kind of hierarchy of frames. First, you've got the world frame. That's its home base, its anchor to reality, fixed to the floor. Then you can create what's called a user frame, and you can attach that to whatever the robot is working on, say a car door. And finally, you have a tool frame, which is centered on the business end of the robot, the welder, the gripper, whatever it's holding. And here is where it all clicks. This is the magic. Let's say you've programmed that robot to put 200 perfect welds on that car door. But oh no, the next car door that comes down the line is placed on the fixture just a few millimeters to the left. Do you have to reprogram all 200 of those weld points? No way. You just update one thing. You tell the robot the new location of the user frame, the door's new reality, and instantly it recalculates every single move on the fly.
So let's bring this all home. After all that, what's the one big idea you should walk away with?
It's this. The next time you think about where something is, remember the difference. The reference frame, that's the physical reality. That's the what. It's the car you're in. It's the tectonic plate you're standing on. It's the robot's little world. And the coordinate system, that's just the language. That's the how. It's the arbitrary set of numbers, the X, Y, and Z, that we choose to describe that reality.
Look, getting this difference isn't just trivia. It is fundamental to basically all of physics, all of engineering. It's how we build models of our universe. Which kind of leaves us with this one last big, fascinating question to chew on. If our very description of reality is so completely dependent on our frame of reference, what does that say about reality itself?